the WAP 3. We're going to have Master and Baker, our top three mentors,
Okay.
and insight.
All right, so I'm actually glad she got up and talked about that today, because when I came in and I saw these signs up, and I was saying to myself, I was like, so I wonder if there was like a course or something that was going on prior to you guys coming in here. But that's a perfect segue to what I want to talk to you guys about. And just raise your hands if anybody ever heard of John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership.
Yes.
Okay, so naturally, when you just look at all these signs across the board, and as she addressed and gave you guys insight on diversity and inclusion, one of the things you want to realize that one of the first levels of leadership is position. So realize whenever you're dealing with all these different ranges of personalities and people that you come across in your career. For example, when we were talking about the minister and his family, well, guess what? I had an Amber before, you know what I'm saying, that was a devil worshiper. He went to the Church of Satan. So did that mean that I had to treat him somewhat different because that was different from my values that I grew up with or not? No. He was actually one of the sharpest airmen that I ever supervised. He got Airman of the Year. He just happened, to go to the Church of Satan. What can I do about it? Nothing. You got to treat people equally as you go along. Now, you can throw a joke out there when I was like, well, did he put a spell on you when I get Airman of the Year? No. None of that.
That's how you catch a case.
But you want to, be able to draw from your experiences, another experience as well as, and one of the ones that I came across, another situation where I had one of my now NCOs who's she's in a lesbian marriage. So there was another situation where it's like each one of these situations that you come across in your career, you may end up facing one of these particular scenarios. So that, as she was mentioning about your unconscious bias that you tend to have, that we all tend to have, you have to break those stereotypes and actually get to know each one of the people that you come across. For example, when you come in and that position level is basically, people are gonna follow you because they have to. And I always remember, like, if I can quote eloquent artist Lil Jon and the East Side Boys, you have to get on my level. So let's, trying to break it down for you guys, try to make it, a little bit relatable.
They may not know who that is, though.
Please tell me y'all know who Lil Jon is, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I'm saying ain't that old. Because I remember when Chief Jones was up here one time, she was mentioning Billy D. Williams. I was like, I said, Chief, I guarantee you don't know who Billy D. is. I was like, yeah, that's too far. Now, if you one of those like Star Wars nerds, well, you might know who Billy D. is. But anyway, to kind of like describe to you guys, that true importance of embracing your leadership skills. So the next one is going to be permission. So this is when people follow you because they want to. The next one from there is you're going to have production, where people are going to follow you because of what you've done for the organization. The fourth one from there is people, which is people follow because of what you've done for them personally. And then the top level, which is pinnacle, is people follow you for who you are and what you actually represent. So when you look at that per se and look at all those different levels of leadership, and as I mentioned before, you have to get on another person's level. What may make established connection between me and you may not be the same connection that me and you can establish. So you kind of have to build to that certain point, because you can have the same core principles when you're supervising and leading. However, at the same time, you kind of have to craft it a different way. So it's like, if I'm working with, Sergeant Henderson at work, and I already know, like her core competencies when so I know there's certain things that, can trigger her, certain things, that can get her motivated and do things. Another person would be completely different because there's a personality difference. There can be a value difference. So it's like, knowing the individual based off their background and getting to truly know who you're supervising is going to help motivate that person a little bit better. And then they're able to progress with you in those 5 levels of leadership to that ultimate pinnacle level, because now you're not operating on that position level anymore. Your ultimate goal is going to be operating on that pinnacle level. And, when you do that and when you operate, freely, openly, you keep an open door policy, you constantly, engage your people, you keep talking to them, you open up because, one thing that I am thankful for as we continuously embrace diversity and inclusion across the Air Force is the fact that I've had these, shared experiences throughout my career. I can actually look around the room and say, yeah, there's multiple, cases where I definitely know some gypsies when I was stationed in Europe, I definitely know, a racially mixed couple. I definitely know some doctors and nurses, the devil worshiper or not, the single parents, people with multiple kids. It doesn't matter. It's just the fact, that when you are faced with something different than what you're used to, you have to have that opportunity to say, okay, am I gonna like just, come to grips with like, no, I'm not gonna, even touch that person or even talk to them because our values are completely different. Or can I embrace the person and find some type of common ground or level? Because for example, and I'm pretty sure, it's not the first time you heard it. I'm pretty sure some of y'all may have experienced or seen this before. So, of course, when you have those difference of values, where when I mentioned the lesbian couple that worked for me, well, not them, but her, that was marrying a lesbian couple. Well, there was another person within my shop that was completely polar opposite. I mean, ultra religious about stuff. So of course, there's a values conflict there. So then now you got to sit there and say to yourself, like, well, what do you do in those situations? How do you mesh those two individuals together to say like, you have to come at things on the common ground. Number one, we're all in the Air Force together, so we have to look at the purpose of why we're here, why we're serving together, whatnot, and then come up with a better vision of, all right, now you got to look at it big picture. When we all go to war, are we sitting here thinking about stuff like that? Because when it's time to die, it's time to die. Either that person, that man or that woman that's sitting next to you, not, when it comes down to fighting and dying, this is the reason why we put on this uniform, to defend our country and for what it stands for. And those are kind of some of that's the mindset you have to have. Is, when that person puts on that uniform just like you may not agree with 110% of what they do and who they are, what they represent, but you also got to share that common ground of this is the person, who's willing to, give that ultimate sacrifice. And I'll use an example. When I was stationed in Germany, I went on an air staff ride to Normandy, France, and all the little beaches and the wars were not. And you got the big, huge memorial and the individuals that are all laid out there, and you see all the different tombstones. Well, you can look across those tombstones, and you can see there is a multitude of individuals from different backgrounds, different walks of life, different ethnicities, different cultures, and you think when they were like all getting shot at, where do you think they were thinking? Oh no, man, you gotta move up, move him in my way. He gotta get killed first. No, you realize, now you're part of something bigger. That's when you kind of like say to yourself, like, I gotta go ahead and chalk that up to the game. That's kind of, petty and trivial once I think about it. And like I said, don't get me wrong, still hold on to your values and belief systems, if that's what, keeps you grounded and together. Nobody's telling you, that what you can believe in or whatnot. My point is make sure you give everybody equal treatment. Make sure, you treat everybody the way that you want to be treated. That's just the fairest way to put it. And I would encourage you guys as we continually to become a more, diverse Air Force. As you guys seen me brief about some of this stuff before about embracing diversity, reach out to more organizations like EO and embrace that diversity and inclusion, because it's helpful. Because trust and believe you me, there's going to be a lot of people you come across in your career who have absolutely no idea about diversity, because that's never been a part of their makeup growing up. But at the same time, that gives you the opportunity. Now you have, the resources and the tools to get that information you need because a lot of times things just comes down to education. Things may come down to those situation scenarios where you say to yourself, if I go out and get this information, this data, and the resources I need to help educate this person a little bit better, now I'm coming at it from an informative standpoint. Now I know this person, is like gonna receive information, and at the same time when you're receiving it, make sure you you go back to those levels of leadership and realize how do you effectively communicate that stuff to that person. Because you just go boom, 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 you stupid, you wrong, or whatnot, and you start throwing out fallacies and stuff against the person, then that person's not going to receive that information. But this gives you that opportunity to basically, focus and hone in on building your levels of leadership by using, this situation scenario I gave you guys as an example, because there's plenty of different situations you have where you can exercise those levels of leadership. Just remember, like, as I said before, you start out on the pinnacle. Let me backtrack. You start out at the position level, but you ultimately want to end up at the pinnacle level. But just realize again that each person that you deal with is going to be completely different, and that's just part of just getting to know your people and how you need to be flexible with your leadership style. So lastly, I'll close out and say I've truly enjoyed my experience being you guys' WOT 3 mentor. Unfortunately, this is my last meeting that I'm attending because I have the PCS next month. On to another journey, full of traveling. I spent 5 years at the Pentagon. I enjoyed it tremendously. This has probably been the best assignment of my career. So I will be like traveling the road with the CRG, coming up here in the future. But I will say this is probably one of my greater experiences as well, is giving back. The main thing I always say to people is make sure you pay it forward. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times in life you're going to see those situation scenarios when people don't get information. I'm going to hoard it. I'm just going to keep it all to myself. But for what? Be confident and secure with yourself. Because if your people are doing successful, you're going to be successful too. I tend to always try to surround myself with, people that are just as successful as me or more successful as I am, because what I try to figure out how to do is, well, how did you do it first of all? Teach me, mold me, mentor me, and guide me, and then I can take that information and disseminate it, and give it back as well, because this uniform for all of us is temporary. You got to decide, why are you in, what are you going to do to be impactful, to be effective, and to also, like move that needle, just a little bit further in the right direction, for our Air Force, for your peers, for your country. Because what we represent, as we are a small microcosm of society, we still represent the society as a whole. And a lot of times, us being like the test case or the case studies before things get implemented, and on a larger scale, we take that opportunity to excel, above, the rest of our, countrymen and women, because we are that small percentage of, those that serve out of the 300 some plus million people that's in this country. We are that small percentage that serve. So take that with pride. Please move forward. I'm always available to reach out, to and talk to, and again, continuously build on what you've already started, and push forward, and just make sure, that you're doing the very best you possibly can. Utilize your resources, utilize your peers, and then, finally, take everything as an opportunity to do more good. You live with that philosophy in life, I guarantee you're going to be successful. So with that, it's been real. Thank you, guys.